We are approaching that time of year again. A time of great exhilaration. A time of great pleasure. A time of great fear. The darker sides of all crave that latter delight from themselves, but even more so from others. To satiate that hunger, our dark selves take note, interest, and entertainment in tales of the macabre that appeal to our deepest fears as only mortals face. The only way to achieve this is to begin the dark ritual where Nerdporial and a special guest will discuss a particular tale during this season to ward off pure evil, as well as to entertain and to educate. I humbly welcome you to the Serial Horror Chat. And we're back for another episode of Serial Horror Chat. Welcome. I am your host today. I identify as Nerdporial Hunter D. What does that mean? I don't know, but you know what? Sounds cool. So that's why I identify as. And well, with me, I want to say hello before I even go into my special guest. I want to say hello to Dempsey, who's in the chat. Thank you for coming by. And whoever else is listening, welcome. And if you haven't done so already, if you like what I do, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, helps me out. And heck, even leave a comment saying, what you like about Vampire Hunter D, how you saw it. Did you like it? What was your experience with it? I'd love to know. So without further ado, I want to introduce my special guest, very first time on the channel. And I know him through Mr. Brandon the Anime Guy. If you haven't already, subscribe to Brandon the Anime Guy. My page shell form, I might be. But other than that, I want to welcome Shenotski to the panel. What's up, Shenotski? Thanks for coming. Thanks for becoming part of this Nerdporial Continuum, as I like to call it.
Hello, Nerdporial. Do you like vampires?
No, I don't like vampires. Not at all.
And why the hell did you choose this movie? You could get kids in your anime and your Blu-rays and your DVDs and your internet pornos.
I'll say this. My initial experience with this was, believe it or not, I've heard of this, but it was actually my younger brother who had a friend who actually had the DVD. So he brought it home and he showed it to me. And I watched. I was like, "Holy crap! This is awesome. This is just like freaking Castlevania. Like especially all the castle sequences and all the diverse demons and everything. I'm just like, whoa, what is this? This is cool. This character's cool. The bad guys are menacing. It's awesome. So that was my initial experience. So Shenotski, tell us about yourself. What is your history with anime, manga, and especially with Vampire Hunter D?
Well, back in the terrestrial days, before the internet, before the dark times, there was this thing called cable, and on cable there was this one channel called the Sci-Fi Channel, and in it they would occasionally play some odd titles from other countries, and that included Japan. They had this thing called Saturday Anime. I don't remember it was part of one, but I remember seeing it on television before I even was aware that this was a thing. To me, I just loved animation. And this was it was censored, of course, for TV, but it was still this was a lot darker and more adult than a lot of the stuff I was dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same here. I mean, we especially I mean, some of the violence. I mean, especially some of the the blood, like we were saying earlier. Heads are being crushed. Heads are being blown off by beam weapons. I'm like, this is a very interesting marriage of science fiction, westerns, fantasy, and horror. I thought that was a very interesting I thought this was a very interesting aspect of this movie, and I thought I like the '80s aspect. I love the '80s look, the animation style. So, um, but yeah, so what did I'm just curious, like so you had so you talked about your background. So how familiar are you with the source material? With have you read any of the novels? Are you familiar with them at all?
No, I just picked up the. I knew it was based on a novel series. I just picked up the Humble Bundle thing that another person was mentioning in the chat. You can get like, was it 28 of them for like $15? So if you're interested in checking them out, now's a really good time now.
Yeah, I mean, who know? I mean, I know for a fact that they are supposed to be adapting the novels for a new CGI series. I remember hearing about this back in 2015. I remember they announced this, and apparently it's still in pre-production after all these years. Like then, of course, you had the lockdowns, the pandemic happened, so they put a stop to that. They put that on hold. I don't know if they went back to it or if they canceled it. According to what I read recently, they kept it. Apparently, it's still in pre-production. So I don't know if it's ever. I'm curious. Have you heard about that? It's supposed to be called Vampire Hunter D Resurrection.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, we're almost to 2023. It's been 8 years. Chances are, it's just caught in production and probably got canceled. They just didn't officially announce it. Case in point, they announced a live action Bubble Moon Crisis movie about a decade ago. Yeah.
Oh.
And it was going to be a Chinese American production. It was supposed to be like this part of, they got the a special effects supervisor from one of the Spider-Man movies was announced. There was a website for everything else. Nothing happened with it, and the website just silently disappeared. So it was a case of it was probably intended to be made, but it's probably canceled unless somehow someone decides to resurrect Vampire Hunter D Resurrections.
Yeah, and I mean, from what I heard, it doesn't sound too promising. Like CGI, I mean, just the concept of CGI, just I find it I don't like that. Like the idea, like what happened with Berserk 2016, in particular, ugly. One of the ugliest animations I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I think they're maybe finally starting to get around it because Chainsaw Man is 3D, if I remember right.
I haven't seen that one. I haven't been up on more recent anime. I've heard mixed things about Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's not as much of a complaint. I mean, obviously, the thing I went to college for was animation. Didn't end up there, but one of the things that happens with 3D to 2D is for some reason when people take up on 3D, they completely forget how to animate things.
Yeah. I hear I hear especially in Japan, animation, like they work it to death. Like it's all work. Like the typical Japanese culture is work, and then do some more work. They
get worse pay than our minimum wage. They get paid worse.
Do they get paid per like frame or something? I'm curious how that works.
Yeah, they get paid per cell.
Okay, per cell.
And this is an important thing to remember. It might have changed, but probably didn't. Last I checked, they don't make any money from the broadcasts of anime at all. Like the way they make their money is through merchandise and DVD sales.
Oh, I see. Huh. So I read that they have there's 40 novels and they've been made ever since so the first one, which is what we're going to be talking about, or the adaptation of the first one, came out in 1983. I think even to this day, what's his name? Hideyuki Kikuchi is the author of the series, and I think he's still making Vampire Hunter D stories to this day. I think he comes out with them every year, I think.
So, I think he's kind of akin to like one of like the Stephen Kings. Like there's a few prolific novelists in Japan. I forget the other guy's name, but it's the guy that did like Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Oh yeah, Tanaka, Yoshiki Tanaka. I actually have a couple of the books on my Kindle.
Actually, read the first two. Like another one he did was like Wicked City, which is also a novel series. Demon City Shinjuku, which also had a movie in the 80s. There's just
I do have to confess, I still haven't seen those. I know Brandon's been talking about those quite a bit, but I still haven't gotten around to watching those. I probably should. I probably should. I heard they're pretty crazy.
oh yeah, like one of the characters in Demon Seed Shinjuku is like Lucifer, but
Okay,
he's like
there you go.
but he's he's a Bishonen Lucifer,
Hmm.
who I don't know if he's the actual devil. I'm trying to remember. Either way, back to Vampire Hunter D. Vampire Hunter D, from what I understand, is still being written to this day. Like over 30 years of actually almost probably over 40 years by this point of Vampire Hunter D novels, because D as a character functions really well because he's in essence he's the man with no name. He's the stranger. You don't know too much about him, but there's a problem the characters are dealing with. He helps them solve, and they'll move on and go off to the next one. And you
Yeah,
can
so it's a
use
very
that formula.
episodic. It's like a western. It's like one of those old western shows. I mean, you could even it could be like yeah, like you said, a drifter comes in on horseback. Gets hired to do something, stirs up trouble with there's conflict with usually the population. They don't like him for some reason, and yeah, the issue helps resolve the issue and then moves on to the next thing. So yeah, you're right. Um, I'm okay with that. I actually like that type of beat, and we learn, and as each episode goes on, we learn maybe a little bit more and more and more about the character. I love his character. He's basically the complete embodiment of stoicism right there. Like I
Yep.
love this speech. Like I'm gonna kind of skip ahead. He when they tell the town that what's her name, Doris, has been bitten by Count Magnus Lee. Magnus Lee is the villain of this OVA, this first novel. If you haven't seen it, our in the chat obviously knows way more about Vampire Hunter D than I do. So, um, but he gives a speech, and it's actually a very telling speech about like what D's ideology is, and or part of his his worldview. And he tells the boy Dan, her brother, as he's crying, he's like, never cry in front of your sister, especially when she's going through all this. You have to be her support during this, and you have to smile even if it pains you to do so. And this is based on me listening to the dub. I've seen it subbed before, but I was watching it dubbed to prepare. I was watching it dubbed to prepare for this. So you're going to be hearing the dub. You're going to be hearing quotes from the dub. So if you watch it subbed, my bad.
There's a couple important distinctions to make with it, because it's just some like great ancestor, but the English version says, "Oh, he's related to Count Dracula."
Yeah. Whereas I think originally they just call the ancestor sacred ancestor, I believe.
Yeah, it's just the sacred ancestor, because I mean this is like 10,000 years after nuclear oblivion wiped out the old world, and this new world came in, and there's vampires. So there's this like high and low fantasy technology in there, and that you have the shanty towns, but you have cybernetic horses.
Yeah, and you have I'm curious, like, are all the demons and vampires the subjects or the output of genetic engineering and genetic manipulation? Is that what this is? Even the magic, even the magic is, you know, found from within or something. I don't fully understand the world.
Yeah, from what I understand of the entire thing, it has been a while with it, so I could be a little bit out with it. But yeah, basically, it's that whole quote from Arthur C. Clarke that sufficiently advanced technology to a layman will look like magic.
Okay, yeah,
So in the case,
true.
so there's probably this genetic engineering. There's probably the vampires came out from some attempt to create immortality that came about. And in not to go too much into the next movie, but they even have spaceships. They go into space.
R says he went to, and at one point he goes to Mars.
Yeah, So it's this nice little hodgepodge. I mean, the world building for it, and it doesn't go into it too much in the movie, but even then, there's that point where he's first entering the castle, and he just stops by, and in his little hands talking to him about it's like these are the ruins. These are just little things left over from this giant nuclear wharfs from untold millennia ago.
Okay. So so here's so the nobility are not genetic mutations. They've created genetic mutations of mythical creatures, but the origin of the nobility is unknown. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's why I was going like I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I do remember there was genetic engineering somewhere. So thank you.
And like what I forget, like D calls Count Lee at the end of the movie. He's like, you're not true nobility. You are what he calls a transient, I think transient visitor is what he calls them. What does he say? Transient guess. Okay, he calls them transient guess. So
because he's only like 10,000 years old. The actual nobles are like untold ages.
Yeah, because I believe this movie or this series starts in like 12,000 AD or something. So 10,000 years, that would be roughly short, 21st century, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's everyone's favorite cliche from the 80s and 90s. 2,000 hits and the apocalypse happens for some reason.
1999, yeah. You get party like it's 19. Okay, I don't want to get copyrighted. The music industry needs their money, right? Right? Yeah. So yeah, like so I'm wondering if transient visitor means like they're aliens or something. So I honestly I'm curious. That's just a theory I have. But I believe the nobility were scientists originally, like the sacred, not the sacred ancestor was a scientist who dabbled in playing around with genetics.
There's a lot to it. Just basically they're whatever's left over from the old world. It's pretty obvious with that.
And so apparently in this world, so there's Count Lee. He's one of the older ones, but apparently there's I think every episode or every book has encounter a problem. Usually it revolves around another. I'm assuming maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but every episode or book revolves around him fighting another noble or vampire.
No, not all of them. I didn't read them, but I read like a summary of some. There's actually one where like there's like a murder in the town and he has to solve it. So he has to be like a detective.
Okay. So I guess only like the very important, really important episodes or books will have a noble or something, I'm assuming.
Yeah. You can't just have the character going through the upper class like they can't be responsible for everything bad that's happening, but they are responsible for a lot. Like case in point, back to Bloodlines, since you're probably saying the main gets to that is a noble is actually kind of in need of help with it, even though he was hired out by this girl's family. And then the only like noble he ends up taking on is because she decides, oh wait, I want your blood and all this other shit, so I'm gonna just take it.
I hear the nobility still prefers hunting or preying on humans, even though they don't really need to. They just do it because it tastes. I think it's because they taste better or something.
Well, I believe the count in this movie says best is like they're thousands of years old. The thing that they have to deal with is boredom. They are bored out of their minds. So anything to alleviate it, just is what they'll do. It's the case with like, the entire reason this happens. The entire reason for this plot happening is that, Count just has to have a booty call. I want to get a wife for a while. I'll fool around and maybe in 100 years kill her off.
Mm-hmm.
And that already happened before with that's why he has his daughter.
Yeah, so here's this is Count Lee right here. One thing that really drew me into this movie, I just love this whole segment right here. Just like the atmosphere, the lighting, everything about this just like made me want to watch this more and more and more. Like she's shooting this I don't know if this is supposed to be like a dinosaur creature that eats fruit or something.
It's definitely something new. Like she's what? Like she's has a horse ranch, and so these are the creatures that basically going around like eating her livestock. So she's taking care of them, but
Yeah.
she hunting one of them. She goes too far, ends up in his territory, and he's like, "Oh, you're cute. You'll do."
Yeah, and then of course she shoots the dinosaur demon thing like multiple times, even blows off its head, but it still gets up and manages to take a big chunk out of the horse. I think the horse's name is I don't even remember. Let me see. I took a whole bunch of notes here for for the stream. Luke. The horse's name is Luke, at least according to the dub. So here, here she's using her whip, so she knows how to use a whip. So I'm thinking maybe she's a Belmont. Maybe she's a descendant of Belmont.
There's a ton of obviously Castlevania was influenced by this particular series.
Yeah, this came out I think Castlevania came out in '86. I'm sure they stole a lot. I'm sure they stole ideas from this. So yeah, I agree with that.
Even the ending, think about it, the vampire dies and the castle just suddenly destroys itself.
Yeah, and you know what's even funnier? I mean, because I don't have a very long history with Castlevania. I mean, now after playing Symphony of the Night, I've definitely can see it. But like the Count actually gave me Ganondorf vibes from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Like just a big giant, man, very menacing looking, wears this big cloak and can use telekinesis, and I don't think, and he could probably float and fly around and stuff. So I got that kind of vibe from him, and of course really hard to kill. Can turn into Ganon can turn to a beast, obviously, and everything. So, but yeah, she gets killed. Or what's funny is after the horse falls, a werewolf takes the horse away and steals. Apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently the demon, I guess Cross is still working here, even though we barely ever see the use of a cross again. Like it's just disappears after it's taken by the werewolf. And then this was brutal right here. This was brutal right. I'm like oh no, not the horse. No horses were. I don't think any horses were hurt during the making of this OVA. But yeah, this is brutal right here. And then of course here's where we meet Count. I love this. This is a great shot right here. He's just standing there. He's towering. He's menacing, and and we get to this was pretty scary right here. Seeing him up close like this, and just him opening. He has the ability to he's able to shield himself from her blasts. So apparently he doesn't get hurt. He doesn't get harmed really easily. Another aspect to me of Dracula, and of course Ganondorf, from the game. So
he's what vampires were, especially before the Anne Rice era with them, where it's like, oh, we're tragic misunderstood characters. Before that, it's like vampires were just these monstrous, evil fucking things that would murder you if they felt like it on a whim.
And were they? And I'm curious, were they like also immortal? And
yeah, they'd be immortal. They were really difficult to kill. They're just the influence from that original Dracula book.
Okay. Yeah, the original Dracula book, I think they needed to use blades, sacred blades, to kill him, sacred knives, and that's how he dies. I think was being stabbed in the chest, as opposed to
they stab him in the chest, and more importantly, they get him during daylight when he's at his most weakened.
So the daylight doesn't necessarily kill him. The daylight simply weakens.
Yeah, he's a lot more weaker in the day. Also, he has to have his, sleep in his soil. There's all sorts of things that they had to. It's like it wasn't just a simple thing of stab through the heart.
Get the teeth right here. So we're going to see if I can find that right here. I love this so much. I use this in my thumbnail. I use this shot in my thumbnail. Like, look at this. Like, geez, the red eyes, the fangs. You're like, you don't want him to take a bite out of you. And this is I love how like it shines and it completely. I just like how this. I love the frame composition here. And then of course we get the title. And then here we meet D right here. Here's D, and we get a very familiar shot. This looks very Fist of the North Star because I swear in the opening of Fist of the North Star, I think maybe the first series or the second series, I don't remember, but like we see a similar shot to this where it's like like a background very similar, and we see the silhouette of Kenshiro right here.
Yeah, well, this guy did work on the Fist of the North Star movie after this movie, so is Kenshiro copying D? That's the better question.
So D's supposed to be he's supposed to look like he's supposed to be he's even though I don't buy it, but according to like I think the source material, he's supposed to have the appearance of a 17 or 18-year-old because I guess at that once you reach like mature age, then you stop aging right after that. Here he looks he looks a little older. He doesn't look teenager. He doesn't look like a teenager. He looks more like looks like a guy in his like a veteran in like his mid to late 20s or something.
Basically, Alucard and Castlevania is pretty much the same thing. Dampier, human mother, powerful vampire father.
The direct connection I took to between D and Alucard was the beginning of when we see the beginning of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. When we begin Alucard's segment, he is rushing to get through jump through the drawbridge to get into the castle, and we see something similar here where D runs up the drawbridge and hops into the jumps off of his horse and hops into the castle, and then encounters all these colorful enemies.
Yeah,
that I think that would belong in a Castlevania game.
Yeah, another thing to remember: this is an adaptation of a novel, so they're taking their own stylings to it.
I'm curious if they cut off. I'm curious about how faithful they were to the novel. Did they like cut certain things out?
Oh yeah, there's some character change. Like if you look at the actual original poster, that's kind of it's more from the actual books, which is what the author has signed off on how things look. And so it's the same guy that does all the Final Fantasy art for the covers. So
Amano,
very androgynous looking, in compared to like they're a lot more masculine here than he is in his other depictions, even in the 2000 movie.
I didn't see the two. I have another confession. I didn't see the 2000. I didn't see Bloodlust. I think the main reason I didn't watch it was because like when I borrowed someone's DVD, it was only in English. I don't know if it was ever subbed or
it was, from what I remember right about Bloodlust, it was basically about because of American producers, because I don't remember how successful Vampire Hunter D was in Japan in comparison with what it was in the US. Like, I don't remember the exact numbers on it, but like one example I do know where that did happen was like Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell was a lot more successful in the States than it was in Japan.
I believe. Yeah, that's true. Interesting. So you're saying this was probably more successful here. That's why they didn't really make any more of these.
I'm trying to remember, and this is going to sound odd to say with it just because of what he's known for now, but Taliesin Jaffe of Critical Role fame, his big thing was the ADR director for anime, in particular, like Hellsing would be the one of the ones he's most well known for. But I was talking to him about, because he had like some cursory knowledge or involvement with the Bloodlust. And basically was because way back in the day, as far as the anime distributors go, there was a couple different companies. It wasn't quite the same landscape it is now. One of the ones was a distributor called Urban Vision, and they didn't have a lot of titles, but one of their titles was Vampire Hunter D, and was, from what I understand, their most successful selling one. So I'm trying to remember the exact particulars of the story because it's been over 15 years since I've heard this.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I remember, they were involved with deciding to, we should get another one going because this thing did well. We'll get like a little bit of theatrical release. And so it was focused on the English market first, which is why it only had the dub, because they literally built it around the American voices.
Oh, interesting. All right. So, so does that mean there's no Japanese audio? There's no.
I don't remember if they ever did a Japanese dub for it.
Okay, but it was still done. But it was still done by but it was still done by like Japanese animators and everything.
It was still animated, but it's kind of like how Batman the Animated Series is in English, but a lot of the TMS did a lot of the animation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then that makes sense then. Now I'm not so, but back when I was in college, especially when I first saw this, I think the reason why I didn't watch Bloodlust was because because I watch everything subbed. Now I'm more flexible. I don't watch anime nearly as much as I used to. So, okay, but yeah, Bloodlust I believe covers the third book. So I know that there's I think they skipped over the second book and they covered the third book. So, okay, and of course, yeah. So RR saying here that Doris has raven black hair, and Lumika, who I believe is the daughter. I think her name, Lumika, is the daughter of Magnus Lee, and she's the one that had blonde hair. So, okay, so they kind of swapped that. Interesting.
Yeah, there's changed around from what happens in the novel, just so it's like a 90-minute movie.
Yeah. This was supposed to be first an ongoing series of D films, but it didn't do well. Oh, okay. Yeah,
it didn't do well enough in Japan, so they did. And then it got licensed by Urban Vision.
Yeah.
It was one of their only things, but Urban Vision's like out of business because they never ever got any more licenses. So they eventually kind of just went to the wayside.
So we got a very interesting little segment here. So here, Doris is trying to test D. Well, she's like, "Are you like truly a vampire hunter?" And then, of course, she uses her whip to try to subdue him to test to see if he can, if he's truly if he can truly help her. And apparently, he just easily breaks out of his binds from the whip. And then she's like, "I need your help." And she's like, "I need your help. I was bitten." And yeah.
Once he sees the bite, then he actually gets serious about it.
Yeah, because I think he wasn't even looking in her direction. He was just like, being completely, dismissive. He was being completely dismissive of her. And then once she shows the bite, then he turns his head. So he's like, okay. So
it's the first time you see his eyes, which is an important like animation trick with it. If you want to dehumanize someone, you hide their eyes, or you want to make them mysterious, you hide them. And then when you show your eyes, it's basically you're showing their humanity or their soul. So that's the point where like you first see that there's an actual humanity behind this cold, stoic, badass character.
Yeah, that's like, that's why like, the movie Alien is so effective because, the alien does not have eyes. So we can't necessarily, we can't really empathize.
I'm going to blow your mind. No, the alien has eye sockets. There's actually a human skull in the front. It's hard to see, but it's actually there. There's an actual skull hidden in. So you don't.
Okay, I've seen this. Okay, I've seen the skull, but so you're saying there's eyes?
There's no. It has eye sockets, so it has.
Yeah.
There's an actual human like skull in there.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I think I've seen that. I generally overlook that. I generally overlook because it's based off of human. Obviously, it's based off of human DNA and everything.
It's based on the H.R. Giger designs because back then it was just supposed to be an alien. Screw that
too. That too. Obviously, yeah.
Oh, anyways, with
Prometheus.
Yeah. D goes into town. Of course, anytime a stranger in a Western goes into a town,
There's always trouble.
things start with the locals.
Yep.
We didn't like the look of your jib, you damn peer.
Yeah, look at here, drunk, and of course you have the jerk. There's always like there's always like the usually the one that's in charge of the town. This is the mayor's son right here, and he's just like he's this is the '80s, so he's a toxic male right here. He he's trying to get her to he's trying to get he wants some stuff from her, and she's like no. And he tries to
come
attack.
on, give me access to your sex, woman. And she's like, no, you're a jerk.
What's up, Abomination AJ? How you doing? So yeah, so she punches him. He gets pissed off, and he gets to a point where he tries to attack her, and she uses her whip. She uses her whip and completely humiliates him. And I think the deal was, I won't tell anybody if you do stuff with me, I won't tell anybody about your condition. And she's like,
and then
screw
he
you.
immediately tells everyone when she rejects him.
Yeah, and she's like, you wouldn't want me to tell your brother Dan right here, would you? And of course he goes around like the jerk off he is, and tells the entire town of what exactly happened to her. So it gets to a point now where they have to meet with the mayor and the town council, as I put it. And of course this is the doctor dude. I don't forget who this guy is, but he doesn't really matter. He's not important. And we learn a bit about their history. So apparently, when somebody gets bitten by one of the nobles, they have to be taken to a camp, a concentration camp, I'm assuming. And because of that, usually what happens was we get like a little. We get a little recount from the doctor. I'm assuming the doctor's been around for a very long time, so he's probably witnessed this himself. Let me see. He basically states that there's been the last time this happened to someone, the count got pissed off and went on a rampage and murdered like 30 people, and the person died in the camp anyways. Went completely insane and died in the camp. So they're like, no, we probably wouldn't be a good idea to put her in the camp. And of course then D says, how about this? Keep her free until she should stay free until I complete my obligation, until I complete my task, take out the count. And they're like, well, what if you fail? And she's like, well, if she fails, then I'll kill myself. I'll bite my tongue, and I'm not gonna, I'll kill myself. I won't live like this. And this is, of course, then when we get that scene right here where we're talking about how D feels about showing your feelings and everything. He gives Dan a little bit of advice on how to. He doesn't tell him on how to deal with it. He tells him not to show his emotions or cry in front of his sister. That he has to be a support.
I miss things like this in actual modern fantasy media, because the whole point with like characters like this is that you're supposed to be stoked, but there's supposed to be humanity behind it. Yeah. Nowadays, with like the current, we're subverting fantasy cliches. Anytime a character is badass, they're just a cynical asshole.
Yeah,
who doesn't care about anyone about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many Brons in fantasy now, not enough Ds.
It's funny. Bronn could be Sauron. Did you know that? Bronn could be Sauron.
Probably.
I don't know if anybody's listening. I hate to bring up that show, but Rings of Power. Anybody could be Sauron. The Harfoots could be Sauron. You could be Sauron. I could be Sauron. Ooh. But I didn't want to.
But the showrunners are the real evil in the world.
They're actually Sauron. There you go. But yeah, it's like, like shows like that are missing like this human element. They're just written to be people talking at each other instead of talking to each other. It's like a script is, it's just like it's devoid of any humanity. And the reason why people love anime is because a lot of anime, well, I can't speak for modern anime, but like anime from this era, the 90s, had a lot of humanity to it. And that's what drew a lot of people, including myself, to it. Then the storytelling. I mean, the storytelling, in my opinion, is just it's traditional, and it's Yeah, I mean the earliest anime is one of the earliest things that I've ever seen that actually had an ending. Because most shows that came on, United States, usually were episodic and they went on forever and ever and ever. And as a kid of the '90s, watching, Power Rangers and all these, animated cartoons, they just kept going on and on forever and ever and ever. There was never really truly an ending, like, the way a book ends. So it's cool having anime shows that are only like maybe 26 episodes back in the day, 26 episodes or 50 episodes, and then that would be it. Then the show would end. Usually it would have a great conclusion and move on. Then there'd be another show to watch. So, and that's kind of what drew me to anime in the first place.
Well, anime sometimes has the problem of, well, now read the manga, pleb.
Like Berserk, like you have your shows where the animes are basically they're marketing for manga. So like the Elfen Lied anime is like that, where it just ends and doesn't conclude. Dead Man Wonderland's another, and of course Berserk, or I think Berserk got canceled, but the old Berserk '97 show. I was like, how the hell can they end it here of all places? So the moment they ended, I had to get the manga. I had to find out what happened. So
yeah, they succeeded. It's just a lot of times we weren't always guaranteed the manga. That was the problem.
What do you mean?
Oh, sometimes if a show is licensed, there's no guarantee the manga is licensed as well. So you just have things that literally just end, and you have no way in English to read them.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So, but yeah, so here, yeah, this was a great. I love this scene right here. Great scene. Yeah. And of course, here's we get typical another toxic townspeople, because they know she's infected. She's going to become one of them. They're like, we don't serve your kind here. You're going to have to leave. And they're like, what did she do? And just like, sorry, you're scaring away the customers. We're going to have to ask you to leave. I was just like, yeah, bastards. Of course, you get that. This is the scene right here. And I think here is where I think we first hear the hand. I think the left hand. So, what do you think of like the whole? Was this like the beginning of the trope where you have the main character, but then he has like a symbiotic. He has like an alter ego or a symbiotic. There's another character.
It's basically a sidekick. It's the same thing. To put it, what was it? As Stanley plays, shouldn't they have someone to talk to? In the case with it, D, the hand knows D, so the hand can actually give us information that D wouldn't. It's actually kind of a clever writing device to get around, because otherwise D's never going to explain anything, because D's hyper stoic. So you need something that would bring that about.
So that's his name, Carnuckle. I wasn't sure what his name was. Okay, Carnuckle. Interesting. Yeah, Carnuckle is pretty. Yeah. Carnuckle is like Carnuckle's a jerk. Every attempt, every time he always tries to provoke D to do something. Hey, come on, what are you doing? Are you a pussy or something? Come on.
D has the ultimate revenge. My balls are sweaty. Reaches down. Oh, god damn it, D.
I like how he says later, he's like, you know what? I don't think I need two hands. He's like, okay, fine. He's like, okay, I'll shut up.
Yep.
But yeah, we get a very interesting scene right here. Apparently, Doris reveals, like I said earlier, Doris's father was a werewolf hunter, so that's why she knew how to test D in the first place. And we learn that the agents of the nobility are coming, or in this case, the Count Lee, because apparently tonight is a blood moon, or tonight's a blood moon, and any blood that is drawn by a noble is considered to be impure. So, because the blood moon's the next day, they're going to be doing their thing. He deduces that they're going to be coming tonight, so they got to be ready for them. So,
and this is where we get our first real action scene.
Yeah, so we get of course there's the Count right there. He's just sitting on his throne. I'm guessing these are like shield generators that surround the house, I think.
Yeah, or like they fire out electricity, Yeah, it's the sci-fi tech.
Yeah, and of course here he turns it off because he's like, you know what, I'm gonna face these two. And of course we meet these two. So this is the daughter of the count. What was her name? Lumica or something. I never remember her name. And of course I think this guy's name is Ray. Or I just keep calling him Ray. Kind of reminds me of a Fist of the North Star character right here. So
well, he does die like one, so
yes he does. Yes he does. Yes he does. And it was it was so messed up, I'll say that. But we get a very interesting fight right here. Fight right here. So he's trying to use like martial arts on D, and it doesn't work. So he has a boomer. He has like a boomerang.
it's like was a telekinetic blade, or he obviously doesn't have telepathy, but
But he has the ability. He has the ability to manipulate time and space, so that when D stabs him, he's actually stabbing himself. And the only other time I've seen this was in the Berserk manga, where when the Skull Knight breaks into the eclipse, he tries to go for that one brain god hand. I think his name was Void. He tries to slash him across the. He tries to stab him, I think, in the face, but Void creates like a portal that comes out another end and tries to hit the Skull Knight, but the Skull Knight deflects that as well. So
I think there's some Marvel characters that have some similar things, but yeah, it's not something
like Doctor Doom maybe or something. Doesn't Doctor Doom have that ability or something?
Doctor Doom has magic. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. When it comes to Marvel, I'm a complete normie. Like, the only thing I know about Doctor Doom was that he was the inspiration for Darth Vader, or one of the major inspirations for Darth Vader.
Yeah,
of course besides samurai.
Yeah.
Of course, besides the samurai.
Too, so this particular fight goes on, and then D still manages to get the upper hand because they realize, oh crap, you're healing because you're Dampier.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, right? I thought that was pretty cool, and this is where they kind of stop. He's just like, girl. I like how he's just like, he's pretty plain. He's like, girl, I don't want to kill you. My business is with your father. And she's like, oh, I'm important too. Screw you, And of course, what we get? So I think she steps in. Actually, she steps in, and I don't know what the attack is. It's like she's shooting lasers at him.
Oh no, she's throwing what would be, I forget exactly what I would say these, but it's basically metal that superheats itself to the point where it like magnifies everything around it.
Okay, and so he deflects, and that's why it causes explosions wherever.
Okay. Yeah, it's basically she's throwing like bits of lightsaber at him, for lack of a better term.
Kyber crystals, igneous
rocks. The actual like plasma beam. Like
she's
super hot material.
Oh, okay. And because of that, because of the fact that he was able to deflect that easily. That's what I think they leave, they retreat, and of course we get. I think the Count here gets a report from the Fog. I think the Fog is like a messenger. I believe a messenger, and that's how we can like see what's going on in like throughout the castle, throughout the land or something. I have no idea. So here we get so obviously Lee is happy. Lee is amused that there's a character like D out there that could shake things up a little, kill the boredom, because boredom is the mortal enemy of the nobility. And I think here like she gets commanded to go to her room, or
it's like, you didn't kill the vampire hunter, go to your room, girl.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's not Lee that does it, it's actually Ray that does it. So she smacks him. Okay, yeah, perfect shot. He's just like, she calls him like inferior and everything. Poor guy. It's not easy to be Ray. So here we get this.
Even though he's a bad guy, they do give him like actual like kind of a little mini arc, even though he's the villain.
He doesn't stay the villain. Well, mainly because he gets screwed over. I mean, which is good read. But he ends up saving Dan's life because there's a point where Dan tries to assassinate. He tries to jump down and assassinate Lee, but by hitting him over the head, and it doesn't work. So he bounces back and falls because Lee's castle is like the Death Star. Lee's castle is like the freaking Death Star. So like you fall, you're falling forever basically. But it's actually, I thought it was D that saved him. It was actually Ray that saved him.
Yeah.
And then Ray confronts him, and then Ray, his head explodes. We get this great shot here where he rides off the horse and he jumps. Let me see if I can get it right here. He jumps jumps right into the castle, just like Alucard at the beginning of Symphony of the Night. And we get all these colorful monsters. Look at all these demon monster bug creatures. Like, did you not think of Temple of Doom when you see this like cavernous?
Actually, this whole entrance makes me think of Jabba's palace because there's all that crazy shit as soon as you get into it.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Actually, wow, just look at this. I like how he just steps he just steps on one of the bugs, just like out of nowhere.
Oh, he has was it that little light thing on him he pulls up because they're like, oh, we're gonna fuck you up, and then he just they're like, no, get away.
And we get a very colorful Castlevania looking enemy right here. This purple, I call him Purple Dude. The purple dude who has like blades on on both arms and on both legs. Yeah, right there, perfect. And he flies off, and then we get another minion, another boss who is like a giant and throws like bombs or something. Let me see if I can get him. Nope, I guess not.
Oh yeah, and then he fights like the wind serpent.
Here we have like a ghost jaguar or something, and of course that ghost jaguar is being summoned by this witch right here. And they're like, he's like raised here. He's like, you fell into it. You slipped right into our trap. He's like, really? And he's like, yeah, really. And he ends up falling. There's a trap door. He ends up falling to the bottom of the castle. So that's where we get that dialogue from what's his name? Carbuncle? Carnuckle. Yeah. About like there was a war. And yeah, perfect right here. There was a war and many people died. Let me see. So yeah, ancient war skeletons. Of course, I thought these were sirens because they were playing. No nipples showing here.
They're obviously inspired by the three sisters in the Dracula novel.
The three witches of Midwitches are calling it right here. Okay. So yeah, so they're playing the reason why I thought they were sirens is because how the siren. Well, I think the sirens actually sing. They don't play, harps or anything, but they they lure their prey in and then they eat them. They turn into monsters and they eat them, just like out of Greek, just completely out of mythology. Let me see if I get that. Yeah, they turn into these creatures.
And then I always love that they do in anime when people just they're just morph into something else. The shape just automatically changes. That's one of the things that you can't really do in live action and have people believe it, but in anime you can.
Yeah, that's why like I think certain things like I don't know how you feel, but I whenever I hear about live action adaptations of anime, most of the time I just it's not going to work. Like with Cowboy Bebop. They tried to make it look like cowboy. They tried to make it look like the anime, and it just didn't look right. Like maybe certain shows that are more grounded, I think, could work.
Here, the thing with Bebop is that if they understood the tone, they could have taken the cinematic touchstones that Cowboy Bebop used and brought them because that's basically what Bebop was inspired by. The problem was the people making Bebop suck.
That too.
So and they're deciding it's like we're taking the same episodes that are only 25 minutes and we're going to make them 50. So we're doubling the length and we're going to throw in all this crap with Julia that wasn't there originally, which is going to ruin the mystery with her as a character.
They ruined Vicious. They ruined freaking Vicious.
Made Vicious into a fucking pussy.
Yeah. Vicious was anything but, and we got him very sparingly.
And then at the end, what do they do? It's like, well, we can't have Faye get kidnapped, so we'll have Spike get kidnapped instead, and then get saved by Faye.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. Sounds like I swear I've heard. I swear I've seen that in another show before. Right? Okay.
It's like, I think, was Cowboy Bebop created by Ryan Johnson, the Netflix one?
You know what? I can believe that. Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that. No, no offense.
I was expecting
no
a good
offense
show, and my expectations were subverted in that area.
Yeah, no offense to real people, no offense to hardworking people, because I'm sure there's a lot of Ryan Johnsons out there, no offense to them, but you guys got screwed. You guys got screwed by one dude, one doofus in California. Just saying.
Yeah.
So every time I see a Ryan Johnson, like, oh, you did The Last Jedi, I didn't like that movie, and they're like, shut up. They're just like, shut up.
Or even Death Note. The Simpsons parody of Death Note gets Death Note better than the American movie of Death Note.
I love the original anime. But yeah, like, how many did they made Japanese movies? They made the Netflix movie. I'm like, just stop.
They made Chinese movies. They made a musical movie. There's a Death Note stage show. Musical.
I've noticed like especially on Anime News Network, like, the reason why I stopped, that's one of the reasons why I stopped going to that site, was all they announce are stage plays. I'm like, I don't care about stage plays. People want to hear about new anime shows. I don't give a crap about stage plays. And they're in Japan. I'm like, why are you? I know they need the clicks, but come on.
I stopped going to Anime News Network because the guy that ran it was a complete and utter bastard. Oh, and I do AMVs, and the guy who initially ran it before he killed himself fucking despised AMVs.
Really?
Oh. Yeah. Like had a legitimate hatred because he didn't think they had any artistic merit. I'm dead serious.
Wow. Then I just don't like the tone of, especially how they treat particular, people. I'm not going to even get into it, but let's say a particular voice actor who got completely blackballed. I won't say his name.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have a bit more complication to that, because I know I've met the particular voice actor in con settings, and also talked to staff that dealt with him. And no, he is a fucking prima donna and an alcoholic. But I don't necessarily believe some of the other things that were said about him, or at least non-level, because there's a whole bunch of scummy shit that goes on with some of the people at the anime cons. But of course, not to go too much into a tangent on it.
That's all right.
But I've seen underage girls throw themselves at voice actors. Like I was or still am. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him in a while, but Kyle Abear.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a girl dressed up as Yoko from Gurren Lagann, like you know, the bikini and everything else.
Yeah.
It's like, what room are you staying at? And he just looked back and said, "How old are you?" And she didn't answer, and then she moved on. And then he immediately looked at me and was like, "This is why." This is why I immediately open with that question, because I am not going to jail.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's crazy. That's just, it's ridiculous. I mean, I've only been to cons here. I've only been to Anime Central in Chicago, because I'm in Chicago. So, but I've seen lines of,
There's a term for it within the actual voice acting community, con sluts. They exist. It is a thing, because for some reason, if you have a little bit of fame, there are women who will throw themselves at you.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, heck, look at serial killers. Serial killers get letters and they get pictures. I mean, I just, it's crazy. Like, it's people are crazy out there.
But yeah, moving back to this, the murdering vampires, stuff that's far safer to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, here we have here she gets. I think they so she's back at the house, and the doctor's there with her. They get attacked by the giant and the purple,
and it's all an elaborate ruse to get her out of the house.
Yeah, right here. So I don't know if it's here where he gets infected. Maybe the doctor gets infected by the bugs, but he comes back later as a vampire. So I don't remember exactly how he became one. I don't know if it's because of this.
No, from what I remember of it, he was promised. It's just he's pretending to be normal now.
Oh, okay. Okay, so maybe it was the daughter, because I remember
So
the
you remember
daughter.
with Ray where he's all like turning into an immortal master? Well,
Yeah,
he has the actual bite, so the other guy is on his way to becoming because
yeah. Okay, here of course we get so she gets captured, and she's like, "You're gonna let them go?" And Ray's like, "Well, am I gonna? I'm not gonna rid the pleasure of my my subordinates of them feeding on feeding on the rest." And she's like, "If you don't do it, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna bite my tongue off." And he's like, "Okay, fine, whatever. I was not supposed to bring you damage, so there you go."
yeah,
So okay, so I guess he's not necessarily a good guy, but hey, at least he was willing. At least he was willing to make that deal. So of course they bring her to the count. She's like, I'm gonna escape, and you're gonna fail. And he's just like, yeah, I'm 10,000 years old, bitch. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Seriously. Like his head's on his hand. He's just like, I'm not amused. And of course, he's trying to break her. He's showing her everything that's happening here with D, and this is hilarious right here. So they're trying to feed on D. They're like, they have him caught in their trap. They're biting him. They want to suck all his blood. The problem is they are overwhelmed by him to the point where he just completely awakens, gets the blue eyes, the fangs grow, and he just bites their freaking heads off.
yeah.
Let me see if I can find
Because
it.
he's holding back, but at that point, like they've been draining off of him, and he needs to feed. So it's
All right.
it's biting time.
Yeah.
It's like
All right.
that, Ho's mad. Ho's mad.
They're drunk off of his essence. Yeah. And like
Yeah.
I like how they show they show the head fall into a pool of they show the head fall into like a pool of blood right here. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, this wasn't a high budgeted movie, so they do a lot of tricks where it's like, could have this giant explosion, but we're just gonna show this little thing.
I've noticed recycled shots, especially between the fights, especially like they reuse the sword, the sword motion and everything in the two fights that he has with Ray.
Yeah. See, D was trying to save us from Star Wars.
Yes. So apparently here is where I think the princess, or I forget her name. The daughter. I always call her daughter. The daughter basically is like, you know what? You're gonna ruin our family. So I'm gonna put an end. I'm gonna end you. So she tries to stab her stab Doris while she's sleeping. Of course, D comes and rescues her, and he's fleeing. He's fighting off that purple dude again. And we get to see the hand. We get to see talk to the hand. We get to see the hand eat a bunch of bugs. I think.
Yep.
Yeah, eating bugs from that same dude. And of course, this poor bastard tries to run away. He tries to run away, and unfortunately, gets cut right in half.
Yes, he forgot that Alucard recently leveled up after killing the boss, so he got all his HP back.
I'm curious if like the sword extended, or if he was just simply still in his range, his reach. Because the way they show it, it's kind of confusing. I'd like to assume that his sword extended and just completely sliced the green dude.
Well, I mean, he does have telekinesis, so he could have easily just like it flew out of his hand.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. So of course he's carrying her. He's fighting through all these. Look at these demons. I swear this particular demon here. I'm this red demon was in one of the Castlevanias. I swear I've seen this demon before. Maybe a different color, but I swear the same shape head.
Yeah, the shots where like he's just running through or like halls of demons are some of the best stuff in this movie because it's just
and I think at this point he kills you see it right here. He kills the
witch.
The summoner lady. And she's like, "Oh, I'm dead. Oh, what a world." Okay, she doesn't say that, but she says something similar. And so he's trying to jump off. He's trying to leave the castle, jump off the drawbridge, and this giant with a bomb is trying to pull him in. So
now that is from Castlevania.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, right here. And so he stabs the hand, and then he cuts the cable here, so that the entire thing, the entire door or the entire drawbridge comes down, lands on the opposing side, the opposing cliff, and then he just the giant just blows him, like he falls. He forgets he has the bomb on his right side, so it blows off his right side, and then of course then D does the coup de grace right here and just kills him, and we get this awesome overhead. Let me see if I can find that overhead shot, just like complete red on the let me see if I get it. Yeah, perfect right here. Look at that like red paint. So what's next?
Then we have the candle on the point where they nearly kill him.
Yeah, because Ray cannot go back until he kills D. So of course this is where she has nightmares, and they're in the city. They just turn up in the city, and look, Kenshiro makes an appearance here. Tell me that's not Kenshiro. That is clearly Kenshiro.
Oh, that's one of the things they love to do in animation. Is if they work on something else, they'll just throw things in as little background character, or it's people who are actual staff on something. It's like, hey, it's a background character. Who cares?
I want to say hello to the Tad that shouldn't be. Welcome. And I want to say hello to Dempsey. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
That sounds very Herbert from Family Guy right there.
I just think it's a funny voice. So
it is a funny voice.
Okay. It's Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. before he was
he really moved up in the world. First he was animated, and
then he was in Back to School. He played like a side character. He was Rodney Dangerfield's son's buddy in that movie. And then of course then he went to jail, and then he became Iron Man. And then it's history. Now he's one of the most famous people in the world. So, but yeah. So we get another scene where we learn about he gets a candle from this messenger dude right here, and the candle is mainly to help. It's like an incense that can kill like vampires or dampers or whatever. And of course, this fool right here, the mayor's son, is overhearing this, and well, let's just say Dan gets kidnapped. Dan gets lured and is kidnapped once again by Ray, to the point where there's a note left, and of course D has to go confront him, and look at Ray. Look how evil he is with those fangs and that creepy smile. They get into a similar fight. The only difference is he ends up getting his arm cut off because the incense didn't work. So apparently the mayor's son did the old switcheroo when he wasn't looking. And so he ended up with a decoy, and that's why he ended up losing his hand as a result.
Yeah, well, he gets his revenge later, though.
He does get his revenge later. And of course, here is the doctor, and the doctor is a creeper right here. So apparently he was a vampire all along. Well, okay, this is not where he reveals it. So he's like, I'm going to take you somewhere safe, right? Right. So yeah. So here we have so they leave. Okay, this is where he gets his hand cut off right here.
We're going to this definitely not a trap town.
Yeah. And here the doctor here is taking her away somewhere safe. I wouldn't trust this guy because he's just a creeper. We got Dempsey says he was on Roman stream. Rauman. I'll say Rauman stream. And then, of course, speaking of the devil, here's Roman. What's up, Roman? So yeah, we're almost done. We're covering the rest of the movie, and then we're gonna call it. Then we're gonna call it a night. So
you can see that because what's coming up is like after D gets his ass handed to him, and there's that weird cloud that's like a demon that's trying to eat him. Yeah, right around this point was like when I originally turned on TV one day. It was this particular thing, so I had no idea of any context. But it was like, this is crazy as all hell.
Yeah, that's true. So here we have so D has been basically faints as a result of what happens before that is so the daughter here basically kills the doctor. So the doctor reveals himself to be another vampire. He wants to bite her. He wants to do what he will with her. And the daughter's like, no, go screw yourself. And she stabs him. And then he falls off the cliff. So he's dead. And then, of course, the jerk off here, Mayor's son, shows up and uses the incense on the daughter. So the daughter's suffering, and he wants to use her to get back to get a bounty from the to get a ransom from the count, and then kill the count in the process, so that he can be the bestest ever and become the next mayor or whatever. I don't know. He's just
no one dies like Gaston.
Yeah. And of course, he ends up falling off. So Dan, this is after. So Dan and D come, and he shoots at him to the point where he shoots at the guy to the point where he falls off. Let me see. I like how southern he sounds. Let me see if I get it right here. He just falls off. There you go. Perfect.
Like, he's only like what, 6 or 7. He's already like shooting guys off.
And what's funny is he survives. The mayor's son actually survives, and he re-encounters Ray, and Ray's like, hey, there you are. I'm gonna freaking kill you for what you just did to me. I'm gonna
because he lost his
okay,
hand.
that was too much. All right, right here. This is perfect. Yeah, this is like, okay. He's like, I'm gonna kill you.
You don't even need to show it. That's how little his life matters.
Yeah,
you need to show him dying. You know, he's dead.
We don't. Yep, that's it. So he gets the candle, he gets the incense back, and he uses it on D this time. So here is he's attacking D. D is down because of the incense, and then I think he uses a stake, and he actually stakes D right here, and it quote unquote kills him. And then as a result of just for revenge, he wants to he cuts off D's hand, and of course it's the hand with Carnuckle. So that's where Carnuckles tries to he starts eating dirt. And I swear this worm here reminds me of the worm that Christopher Lloyd had to strangle in Star Trek 3. You've seen Star Trek? Have you ever seen Star Trek 3? Search for Spock?
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of that same worm.
Give me Genesis.
Give me Genesis.
Give me Phil Collins, God damn it.
Of course, the worm instead gets killed by the red. I don't know what the hell that was, like a spirit or something. It's a spirit made out of pebbles or rocks or something.
It's like a cannibalistic ghost. I don't know. There's a lot of really like weird ass creatures because it is a sci-fi setting.
Yeah. And we get to see the whole face. He's like, "Wake up, damn it, wake up!" He's eating dirt. He's eating stuff. And of course, right when the red cloud comes to, D wakes up and he just stabs it, and it turns into these little pebbles. So the red demon is gone. And you know what? Now the stakes are high, because now the Doris is now at the wedding. So the count is trying to marry Doris, and she looks like a complete zombie. And because of the fact that she is, she's bitten, she's going to turn into one of those things if they don't freaking do something. So the stakes are high. They got to save her. And of course, this is the count right here. If anyone's just came into the chat, this is the big bad of the movie. And
worst wedding reception ever by far. It's like, you even invite any of her family.
I like how they designed like the castle. This is supposed to be inside a castle. This looks like a freaking Death Star. Like, look at this. This is freaking like Forbidden Planet level. Like, this same Forbidden Planet shot where they show them crossing the bridge and everything. Same thing.
Yeah, and to think about it is that this is one of those things of they really don't explain too much about it. They just show you it when it actually comes up, that you can see is like, oh damn, this is super advanced, because this is like, of course the nobles would have like any of the super advanced technology. They would have taken it for themselves.
Yeah. So here, so I think around here is where So okay, so there's her brother. So the bride's here. Her little brother, her little 7-year-old brother, somehow got on top of this this plumbing, this pipe structure right here, and he tries to assassinate the count right here. Let me see if I can get a good.
He's a brave little kid. I mean,
let me see if I can get it right here. So he's trying. He's like like freaking Goku. And of course, he gets knocked back and he's fallen all the way down. Yeah, he's just fallen, and then he gets rescued by, of all people, he gets rescued by Ray, the baddie, right here. He's like, you know what? I'm done with you, Count. You screwed me. I did your bidding. I killed D, and you promised me immortality. And the Count's just like, I don't give a shit. You failed me so many times.
You don't deserve immortality.
Wait another 50 years, then we'll talk. He's like, he's like, that's it. I'm done. And so he tries to use the incense on frickin' I'm a little too far. So he tries to use the incense on his former master, and it doesn't work. And this is what happens to him. So everybody, are you ready to see this? Because we're going to show it. Goodbye.
Boom.
There you go.
Beautiful sight.
So Ray is dead. Ray is dead. Ray is deader than dead now. And look, they have the wedding reception right here. And look at the like, everybody's like, and I like how, like, once again, the noble is just, because you're 10,000 years old, you're bored out of your freaking mind. Like nothing makes you happy. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to kiss the bride, but instead of kissing the bride, I'm going to bite the bride, and I'm going to show all my, you see all the saliva. I like how they decided to go into detail with all the saliva right before he bites. And of course he gets a knife right in the eye. He just right in the eye. Like, he's like, really, dude? Like, you're throwing knives in my eye? Like, what the fuck? Seriously.
That's another Castlevania thing, throw the knife.
That's right. And of course he just takes the knife out, and it just heals,
Yeah,
it's nothing. It's just a scratch. It's just a.
I love how the blood just flies out and then it all goes back in.
Yeah, it's like a magnet right there. And of course, we find out it's the hero that did. It was D that came back and threw the knife and everything. And he tries to take on the Count, but he ends up getting his butt kicked because the Count has the shield barrier around him, so he can't just use his sword. And the Count has this really advanced, really strong telekinesis, just like he used on poor Ray, and just made him, mush. Your Akira mush, your Fist of the North Star, exploding heads. But we find out that that D is not just any Dampier. He's actually he's the son of the sacred ancestor. Because the moment the Count actually gets pinned to the wall by him, he looks at the portrait of the sacred ancestor, and looks at D's like, holy shit, they're the same person almost.
Yeah,
like,
and in
he's
the
like,
dub,
that's impossible.
It's like, are you descended from Count Dracula?
They say Count Dracula in this, but yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, because he's on the verge of death, like in a Castlevania game, the castle starts to crumble, everything goes to dust. And unfortunately, the bittersweet aspect is his daughter, like they're like, come with us, continue to live. You're half human. And she's like, no, I'm a noble, and my destiny is with my father and with this. So she stays in the crumbling castle. And yeah, so he's dead. The castle comes completely down, and we see where they make it outside, and of course the castle just completely collapses on itself. And as a result, and we see this wacky little 2001 trippy sequence where colors keep changing. Apparently this once a wasteland. So people that just came in, this is a post-apocalyptic world. This is a post-apocalyptic Earth in the year 12,000 AD. And, of course, because this came on the 80s. So 1999 was when when the world came to, or 1999 is when the year when the world came to an end, or not come to an end, but changed forever because of nuclear everything. And so here, because the vampires were the ones that kind of were the reason why I think the wasteland continued to linger. So here, because they killed the count, everything is starting to grow again. So we get some nice, beautiful green land right here. It kind of makes me think of the end of Blade. It makes me think of the end of one of the Blade Runner cuts, where they're just going up the mountain. It's beautiful. It's not rainy like it was in the movie. You've seen that? Have you seen the cut of Blade Runner where it ends with them driving away?
Yeah, one of my favorite movies. I have the Blu-ray collection, has like the 5 different cuts of Blade Runner.
Yeah, it's crazy. So so here he's riding off again because his mission is complete, and like a true badass, he just goes without really saying goodbye. So because it's daylight and he's half vampire, he has to cover himself, and he's going and he's going. And of course, the kids, so the Doris and her brother, are running after him. They're like, wait, we want to say goodbye. And then of course, here is where we get a very impactful
his
smile.
eyes.
Yeah, we see his eyes. We know he's smiling, and I think it's the only time he ever smiles in the movie. So.
Yeah,
and this is pretty much, to me, this is really truly where the movie ends. Of course, we see a lot more. We see him like traveling like in the desert. He passes like a ruins. He passes like a pyramid or something. We see him. Yeah. We see like a Western looking riding off into the sunset type of deal.
And note, this is also basically the similar style ending to the Fist of the North Star movie, which is Kenshiro like just looking around nature.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a while since I've seen the Fist of the North Star movie. I actually just recently bought the Blu-ray, the Blu-ray of the series. So, but yeah, that's the end of Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah, nice, simple storytelling is one of the things that I think most modern writers they've forgotten basic storytelling, and they think that subverting things and for the sake of subverting them is somehow like a more noble pursuit of writing, or it's somehow a higher form of art. When they can't even do this type of stuff right anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, his sword does get destroyed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've never seen Shane. I'll be honest, I've never seen Shane.
Yeah, it's another thing I was going. It's the comeback Shane type ending. Oh yeah, pretty much every Vampire Hunter D. I think one of the cliches of the series, or one of the constant running things, is that D's horse will inevitably get killed at one point. No. Or another.
Like just seeing that cyber horse get killed in the beginning of the movie was rough enough as it is.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, the eyes hold a ton of symbolism in writing, especially Eastern writings. Yeah, that's true too. So
yeah, and that's the whole thing where you see his soul for that brief little bit at the end, so his humanity has come forth.
Yeah. Modern writers just want to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, and the problem is that the wheel is that way for a reason. It works. Yep, I know. It's stupid. It's so stupid. Yeah. They think they know better than all the people before. I'm like, just shut up. Just stop.
Yeah. So. The Greeks figured this shit out 2,000 years ago, and it hasn't really changed since.
Yeah.
And any attempt to redo it just shows how much of a fallacy it is to try to, try to revamp something which it works. People figured this out. People spent a long time, untold generations, figuring this shit out and writing it down so that we, in this era, would know how this shit works. And what did we do? We tossed it away and said, this isn't good enough.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's just the hubris. It's just the hubris of the current generation. It's crazy. And it's because nihilism. Of that, it's not. I agree.
There's this weird aspect of nihilism that I see in the modern era that didn't exist like when this movie was made.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But yeah,
and think about this particular movie. What we have in this movie, we have mass murder, we have attempted sexual assaults, we have we have animals getting slaughtered terribly. We have, murder of townsfolk. We have children put in danger. We have all this other thing.
Yeah.
But would you consider this a negative film at the end of the day when all is
No,
said and done?
it's a beautiful film. It has a very happy ending. Like
Yeah.
it gives people hope. Just the fact that we see things grow at the very end, kind of adds to that. And then seeing how him being there, how his role affected the Doris and her brother. The fact that, of course, they ran to say goodbye to him was just how impactful his actions were to their lives and everything. And it's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. We don't get that. We don't get that a lot in current entertainment. Now everything is trite
Well,
and shallow.
well, it's that it seems that there's this almost cynicism against people who are genuine. Like if someone who's genuinely interested in you, they're not actually interested in you. There's some sort of ulterior motive. Like people can't be altruistic anymore.
No, and people and then the way they write characters now, it's just like I don't care about them. Like I don't. There's no emotional investment. There's no reason for us to care, and that's one of the big issues. Um, that's one of the big issues for me with a lot of modern entertainment. Like it just characters are not relatable. A lot of them are not even likable. And how can we get behind a character if they're unlikable? But yet they expect us to get behind them, or they expect us to still somehow be invested in these stories.
Yeah, if they're selfish bastards. I mean, if this was, taking, even though they're still writing Vampire Hunter D stuff to this day, but if this was like a modern fantasy character, D would, have like slept with Doris and, would have ended up killing the Count for some sort of reason. And the kid would have died because we need something tragic to make people feel like shit about. And, it would have been like, you won, but was it really worth it kind of deal?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly.
It's like, and the daughter would have lived and, chided D for being a, violent, toxic man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he would have been, yeah, he definitely would have been admonished by somebody in that. So, but yeah, it's just crazy. So, but yeah, so yeah, Shenotski, thanks for joining me for the stream. Is there anything you want to plug or anything you want to promote?
Let's see. I'm working. I don't know if anyone here is in the actual LA area, but I'm casting for a little like short doing. Let me get the link real quick. And so like if you're in like the LA area and or if you know any actors in the LA area, you send them my way. We're planning the 5th and 6th of next month. Also,
Right.
we accept V. I doubt it, but it's like that's my thing to promote. I'm trying to be a part of the solution, not just part of the peanut gallery.
I'll be honest. I've only been to LA once, and that was about 5 years ago. I went there for a wedding, and I'll be honest, I was not disappointed by LA. Like there was traffic, people were rude. I think Hollywood people offered me food for some reason or drugs. I don't know what it was. They had paper bags of stuff, and yeah, it was just it was a beautiful experience. Would I ever go back there? I don't know. Now I hear, but I did get to see a lot. There was like a big homeless camp like right off of Santa Monica, like literally on the ocean right there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Stephen Ransom. If you can actually fit for any of that stuff, yeah, we're looking for people. I mean, it's only going to be for like a little quick teaser thing for funding, but if you're good, we'll use you.
There you go, from Shenotski himself. So yeah, for me, yeah, tomorrow I'm not doing any streaming, but I know Wakizashi. I'm on Wakizashi's Tea House channel. He's going to be talking. We're going to be talking the Twilight Zone, the movie from 1983. So yeah, so if you see John Landis, stay the hell away from him because Shenotski, do you know about what happened with the Twilight Zone, the movie?
I was actually about to bring up. I was like, "Are you going to have like a time limit about how long you're allowed to talk about the helicopter accident? Because if not, it's like going to take up the entire thing." It's like, wait, there was a movie this was tied to. Oh yeah,
Yeah. What's funny is I watched the movie first and then I read, because I like to read up on movies and stuff. I saw I heard about what happened. I was like, holy shit. I'm like, holy shit. Wow. I'm
it's a shame too. Because one of the segments, the one with the little kid, is like amazingly well done, but it's overshadowed because of that damn helicopter accident.
Yeah, that's true. That's crazy. But
Because
yeah,
each of the segments were done by different directors, so it's very unfair that their work is tainted by association because of John Landis basically being an idiot.
I'm surprised he kept his career. I don't know how I'm curious how he got out of that. I'm curious how he evaded responsibility for that.
I saw an interview with the pilot. Basically, they kind of determined that it wasn't entirely his fault, even though if you're a director and something like that happens, you're basically responsible. Man, he was the Alec Baldwin of his day.
I know. The only true consequence that I learned was that Spielberg no longer associated with Landis because of that or something.
Yeah. Well, what happened with it was, just from there, I'll probably try to find the video for you if you can, because there was an actual interview I saw with the guy who was the helicopter pilot at the time. Basically, the pyrotechnics went off, and it superheated like the tail rotor, so it ended up like melting and coming off, and then that's why it starts spinning around. So he literally had no control over the helicopter at that point, which is why he wasn't at fault, because literally they determined definitively that the equipment malfunctioned. He had no way to control it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy.
I'd still like, curse Landis's name for getting me into that scenario to my dying day, but
yeah, that's crazy. R says the Japanese culture is especially focused on duty, honor, self-control, and discipline, very similar to the West chivalric knights and stoicism. Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, Bushido. Yeah, Japanese, had Bushido too. So.
Yeah, well, that's also why like certain mature things they like to deal with involve people like trying to keep their composure with being messed with, either like groped or. I'm not going to go into too many more details with it.
But yeah, so that's. I think this is where I'm going to close off the. Stream. So Shenotski, thank you for joining me. It was a blast talking about Vampire Hunter D. So you have a channel. I'll add your channel to the description, so everybody subscribe to Shenotski. Are you going to put up any videos anytime soon?
My channel voted that I'm going to do some gaming content, so I'm kind of trying to figure out what it is. What I'm thinking of maybe doing is some kind of commentary, because if I do reviews, like there's a billion people who do reviews, but I did work on some games, so maybe I could talk about as like a former game dev or something like that. Just what is kind of going on from what I understand of the actual industry, rather than just. I mean, I wasn't like super high up, but I worked on Call of Duty 4 and Command and Conquer 3 expansion, so I do have those credits to my name. But it's a case of it's nice I worked on those, but unless like you were a director of something, most people don't give a shit what you worked on. For I don't have people lining up. It's like, oh, you worked on COD, you should work on this.
Oh, I see. That's crazy.
I put it like the equivalent of if you were like a best boy on the first Iron Man movie. It's great your name's on it, but no one's gonna go, we should get the best boy from Iron Man.
Mm-hmm. I see how it is. Interesting. All right. So that's all right. So I'm going to close the stream right now. Thank you, Shenotski. Because I'm sure nobody's heard seen the opening. I'm going to re-show my opening that I did for this. So everybody take care. Have a great rest of your night.
Keep kicking ass. Keep kicking ass.
There you go. Have a good night. We are approaching that time of year again. A time of great exhilaration. A time of great pleasure. A time of great fear. The darker sides of all crave that latter delight from themselves, but even more so from others. To satiate that hunger, our dark selves take note, interest, and entertainment in tales of the macabre that appeal to our deepest fears as only mortals face. The only way to achieve this is to begin the dark ritual where Nerdporial and a special guest will discuss a particular tale during this season to ward off pure evil, as well as to entertain and to educate. I humbly welcome you to the Serial Horror Chat.